I hate when other promoters talk about their stable, bringing their athletic talent down to being nothing more than livestock. So we want to kind of get out of that. We're building a great team of some talented and great athletes, and that's the way we look at it. And like I said, we really just want to bring some honesty, integrity, and honor back to this sport. That is a beautiful sport if you learn the history, of why two men get in the ring and duke it out, man. It's a beautiful thing. And so that's the one thing, Paul, that I would say that really bothers me is just the perception that this is a shady business, so to speak, and it's not, man. It's just unfortunately there may have been some shady individuals involved with it for a number of years. So,
okay, when you look at some of the big professional promoters, Don King, Bob Arum, and all these, and have you kind of like studied them and see exactly, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And what about them that you like the most?
Well, sometimes you gotta take an individual like Don King, man, who is just as popular as any of the fighters that he ever promoted.
Correct.
I'll admit I'm not quite as flamboyant as a guy like as a guy like Don King, but you've got to give him his dues. He changed the sport. Up to that point, man, there were fights inside of halls. He was the first one to really kind of bring on, the $1 million fight. And so you've got to pay respect to those guys. But you got to realize, man, when you talk about a Don King, Bob Abrams, man, you're talking about Don King is 86 years old. It's time for some younger promoters
Correct.
to get in this game, man. And so the sky's the limit, for us. We're excited about the sport. We love to hear of new promoters coming into the market because it helps us all out at the very end of the day. One of the things I talk about all the time is we are only concerned about JKM boxing and the sport of boxing. We're not in competition with any other promoter. We're only in competition with ourselves, to be quite honest. We plan on growing this sport. We'd like to take from the great accomplishments of guys like Top Rank and Don King Promotions and your De La Hoyas with Golden Boy. And then we want to add, the young guys' flair to it. And so we're going to focus more on trying to make the sport of boxing a lot more interactive to its fan base. And really try to cater to a new marketplace, to a new generation of boxing. I know the MMA thing is a pretty picture right now, but a lot of young people they don't have the boxing heroes that I had growing up in the 90s and 80s with your Ali's and then your Leonards and your Tysons. They haven't really been drawn to the sport that way. But if you start mentioning MMA fighters, man, they know those guys. So we just got to do a better job from a promoter and from a boxing community standpoint of putting good fighters out there, man, and people still want to see the people's champ. Say what you want to about a guy like Floyd Mayweather, man, he has an incredible fan base, right. And so, but he's also, for every fan who loves him, he probably has quite a few guys who hate him. and that opens up a door for them to have their own favorite too. So, the sport is definitely coming back, man. We're just excited to be a part of it.
Jonathan, with your expertise, what will it take for Jonathan to get fighters like Mayweather and some of the big name fighters to Charlotte, North Carolina, or the surrounding areas?
Well, I'll tell you what, man. There are a couple things. One, like every promoter gets in this business, every promoter wants a champion. Mm-hmm. Every promoter wants to be able to say that they have a world champion as a part of their team. And with us, we've got to grow that talent. So we're not going to be a fly-by-night company. Our goal is to stay in it for the long haul, work with these guys, develop relationships with them, and help build their career. you guys like your Mayweathers and things like that, man. I'll be honest with you, Paul. They may not ever really see Charlotte from that perspective. Those guys are, they kind of have their day. What we have to do now is we have to look for the next Mayweather.
Correct.
The next Bernard Hopkins, those guys, and they need to be homegrown. You know, so we're looking for a champion from Charlotte. We're looking for a champion from North Carolina who can carry the sport, and then you don't have to worry about trying to get those guys to come back home. You know, we've had great champions come out of here, your Calvin Brocks and your Kelvin Seabrooks and those guys who you can find in any gym on any day, you know. And it's going to be guys like that that will bring the sport back. Yeah.
With your expertise in the boxing field, what advice would you give the amateur fighters?
Oh man, stick with it. You know, I love amateur sports in general. There's a drive and a hunger that's in an amateur fighter that sometimes can be can't be seen in pro athletes. Again, what makes a guy get in the ring and take that type of beating and not be paid for it? It's pure heart, man. It's nothing more than just pure heart and a love for the sport. So the advice that I tell to any amateur man, stick with it. If this is, you know, there's some life lessons that come out of boxing, whether they decide that they're going to go pro or not. But, you know, I look for the life lessons out of this sport. When you're down on the cards, it's just like being down on in life. You don't give up. You keep going. You go all 12 rounds or whatever the rounds is. These are lessons that these young men and women can take into their adult life about not giving up, putting in the work, you know, training daily to be the very best that you can be. Many of these guys won't hold, you know, a world championship title, but they're going to go on and they're going to be productive citizens in this community and in the workplace, and they can take these same values that they learn from an amateur, from the amateur rink, and take it into their professional lives, whatever they decide to choose.
Is professional boxing for everyone?
No, absolutely not. You know, professional boxing is not for me from the standpoint of being a professional fighter, but it is for me as it relates to being a promoter. And there are a lot of great careers in this sport. You know, everybody's not meant to be in the ring, just like everybody's not meant to be on, you know, to be the quarterback of a professional team. There are analysts in this business, and there are reporters in this business, and, you know, somebody has to make the gloves and manufacture gloves, and so there's so many career opportunities there in this sport.
I guess what I was talking about is you see a lot of amateur fighters who contemplate becoming a pro.
Oh, sure.
But you know what I'm saying, is professional boxing, is it really for everybody?
No, absolutely not, man. You know, these guys don't make money, man. I mean, you know, I think what happens is fighters see a Mayweather who's, you know, he's Money Mayweather, man. Like, so they see all the glitz and glam that come with that, but they don't know the countless hours of work that he put in, and some nights not even eating. You know, it's a lot of work that goes into this. It's not for everybody. You know, it takes a very special person, man, to be able to go to that level. So,
do you have a family?
Yeah, I do, man.
And what type of inspiration does your family give you in this business? We
are such a family business. My wife is our accountant and handles managing the money for the company. My oldest son, who is in Texas, who will be moving back here to Charlotte at the beginning of the year, will be taking over our sales and advertising. We have a son in college at Fayetteville State University.
Wait a minute, hold on a second. You look kind of young, sir. I mean,
yeah.
where you did now? I mean, come on now. You look kind of young.
No, man. I started early and finished late.
Oh, okay. That's what it is. Okay.
So we've got a son in college who is an amateur fighter himself.
Okay.
So it's a family business for us, man. And so when you talk JK boxing, man, and JKN boxing in our house, it means something, and boxing means something to us. So it's, some families get around, watching football games. For us, man, if it's a pay-per-view event going on, know that we're going to watch the fight.
How inspiring is it to have your wife beside you in this boxing?
Oh, man. You're talking about a partnership in marriage and a partnership in business. It's a beautiful thing. We gave an interview just the other night, and it was on that subject of, a husband and wife working together in this sport. To have someone like my wife involved who can be honest with you and tell you, hey, Jonathan, I don't think we're making the right decision here. And for me to learn to trust that. It's a beautiful dance, man. That in itself is a sweet science,
right.
And so to have a spouse that supports you and gets behind you, and be honest with you and help you build something, man, there's nothing greater. And even to see our kids gravitate towards wanting to get involved, it just makes the family stronger, man. So we're excited. We're excited that everybody's involved.
Okay, but we're running short on time as far as I know time goes
I know
by
it goes
real
by
fast.
quick, man. It goes by quick.
Your next bout will be when?
November 13th. It's going to be taking place at the Midnight Rodeo out Albemarle Road. It's going to be, when I tell you it's going to be an exciting night, man, we've got 5 amateur bouts, some great up-and-coming amateur fighters, and some of them really getting ready to turn pro. We've got the professional debut of Jamal Brady, who was an amateur fighter, professional debut. Carrie Flock, who is one of the great female fighters from the city of Charlotte, will be making her comeback to boxing after being gone for quite a bit. We're going to be hosting the seniors light heavyweight Carolinas Championship.
Wait a minute, that's something new.
Yeah, seniors.
Okay.
So Jazzy Kirkley, man, 51 years old, going up against Gil Jacobs from Columbia, South Carolina, 61. Great fight. And then we've got Marcos Primera taking on Antonio Baker, man. It's going to be, 6 rounds of great fights.
Jonathan, we're running short on time. Thank you for coming to the
Thank
show.
you. I appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, get out and support this boxing, this new professional amateur boxing that we're having in Charlotte, North Carolina. Thank you for watching the show, and you be encouraged.
Okay. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.